Ladies and gentlemen, 2025 has come to an end, and it has been a great year for this YouTube channel and for MMA in general, man. I'm very glad to be with you guys here today on the second annual Outpost Awards ceremony. And without further ado, boys, let's get into it. Make sure to subscribe. But the awards that we will be going over today: Breakthrough Fighter of the Year, the Pay-Per-View of the Year, the Comeback Fighter of the Year, the Robbery of the Year, the Feel-Good Moment of the Year, the KO of the Year, the Fight of the Year, and finally, the Outpost Fighter of the Year. Make sure to go check out last year's award ceremony because it was just as great, just as sentimental, and just as valuable as this one. But without further ado, let's talk about the first announcement, the first criteria. We have Breakthrough Fighter of the Year. This award is presented to a fighter who was relatively unknown at the beginning of the year and has turned themselves into a star in the UFC. Let's get into the nominees. The nominees for this award are Quillen Southkill, Walter Walker, and Malcolm Wellmaker, although he suffered that loss. The winner of this award is going to go to Walter Walker, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give it up. Walter Walker has earned this award due to his incredible ability to heel hook someone. We have never seen this in the entirety of the UFC. Someone who comes into the UFC and just has so much talent in one submission. It is remarkable. Every fight, you know this man is going to get a heel hook, and it's crazy. We've never seen anything like this before. And yeah, I mean, Ethan Irving obviously put an end to Malcolm Wellmaker's fairy tale run. And Quillen Southkill, although what he's doing is pretty crazy as well, knocking out a lot of good guys. We've seen it before. We've never seen someone come into a division, you know, although heavyweight may be a bit dry at the moment. Heavyweight's still a good division, and one of the best divisions in the world, UFC quality division. Walter Walker's going in there and putting heel hooks on everyone. We've never seen this before, and that is why Walter Walker earns the second ever Breakthrough Fighter of the Year award. Now let's get into the next awards criteria. The next awards criteria is going to be Best Pay-Per-View of the Year. This award is presented to the UFC pay-per-view that presented the most entertaining and exciting fights. Pretty simple there. We get what this is about. The best pay-per-view of the year 2025. You know, there were some good ones. Here are my top three nominees. UFC 320, UFC International Fight Week 317, and UFC 314. They all, each and every one, they bring something to the table. You know, UFC 314 had the vibes. UFC 317 was International Fight Week. UFC 320 was about Shama getting the belt back. Who gets it though? Who's gonna get it? It's going ahead and be UFC 320. What a pay-per-view this was. Two title fights, one ending in a finish, an electric finish, and Alex Pereira capturing his belt back, something that we all wanted to see. This is a generational card. Vibes were there. Comeback of the year fighter, comeback of the year fight in it, pretty much. You know, Yuri Prochazka coming back against Khalil Rountree and knocking him out after being 2-0. Joe Pyfer getting an electric finish over Abu Smagomedov. Yusuf Salal getting a cheeky little submission over Josh Emmett. And Merab obviously defeating Corey Sandhagen in a pretty fun fight. You know, there was a lot of moments in that fight that were really entertaining. So it goes to UFC 320. Now let's get into the next awards criteria. Comeback Fighter of the Year. I just talked about Yuri Prochazka having a comeback in a fight, but the Comeback Fighter of the Year award goes to a fighter who was written out heading into the year and later reestablished themselves. They reinvented themselves, and now they are one of the best fighters in the world. And for the first time, we have a woman being nominated for the first time ever in the Outpost Awards. A woman making their appearance as a nominee. Macy Barber, obviously she's here. She had that pretty scary health scare against Erin Blanchfield at Fight Night. She was supposed to main event. She pulled out seconds before the main event was about to start. She had a seizure apparently, so that was pretty scary. She also had to suffer a lot of health setbacks prior to that. Benoit Saint-Denis, obviously he was 0-2, losing to Renato Moicano and Dustin Poirier. When everyone thought this guy was a future world champion, all of his hype was derailed. People were saying he was just a blockhead, he'll never be anything in the UFC. And he reinvented himself this year in the UFC pretty well. And the final nominee, Peter Yan, someone who went 2-0 this year with wins over Marcus McGee and obviously the champion Merab Dvalishvili. He won this award. He became champion when, honestly, everyone thought Merab was going to rule this division for years to come. The winner of this award is going to go to Benoit Saint-Denis. This might come as a surprise to people. People are going to think that Petr Yan should have won it for beating the champion. However, I think that was an off night for Merab, and I think in a rematch, Merab will beat him. What BSD has done, everyone thought this guy was a fluke. No one ever thought this guy was going to be anything in the UFC. People were saying he was going to be cut from the UFC with one more loss. And to completely go in there and reinvent yourself, go 3-0 in the year against guys like Kyle Perpolik, pretty much a jobber, but Mauricio Ruffy, an up-and-coming hot talent, to silence the haters on that one, put him down, and obviously a great win over Benil Dariush in like 18 seconds, knocking him out, flatlining him. So he's still one of the best in the world, and I think he's one fight away from the title, as crazy as that seems. Benoit Saint-Denis, you deserve this. Moving on to the next award. Robbery of the Year. This award is presented to a fight that the judge's decision was very clearly wrong, and I'm passionate about some of these. Here are the nominees for this award. Aiemann Zahabi versus Jose Aldo. Francis Marshall versus Myron Santos. And Nathaniel Wood versus Jose Delgado. All three of these are bad robberies. Maybe not all three. One of them I don't think is exactly a robbery. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I'm not going to spoil it because that would give it the award. Jose Aldo versus Aiemann Zahabi. Very back and forth fight. A lot of people argue Jose Aldo won. You know, he had the knockdown. He had the crazy sequence where he was soccer kicking Aiemann Zahabi in the head. Francis Marshall versus Myron Santos. I mean, this one's just plain pitter patter. People thought that Myron Santos lost this fight. Francis Marshall clearly looked better upon the 3 rounds at UFC 313. However, they gave it to Francis Marshall. And the final one, Jose Delgado versus Nathaniel Wood. And a very fun fight. But I think one person definitely came out on top, and that is Jose Delgado. So, let's get into the winner of this award. It is Jose Delgado versus Nathaniel Wood. At UFC 321, I truly believe it was a very fun fight. I was so happy when this fight ended because Jose Delgado had just pulled off a great win against Nathaniel Wood. Jose Delgado trains out of the lab. He trains in Arizona. He's Mexican, and he pulled out a win over someone who was just outside the top 15. There was no doubt in my mind that Jose Delgado lost that fight. It was a fun fight, sure. Nathaniel Wood had his moments, but this was a pretty clear win for Jose Delgado, and it kind of made me mad because after this fight, like, Jose Delgado didn't even seem to care that much. I mean, the commentators weren't saying much. It was kind of just awkward, and nothing really came of it. Like, we never heard people talking about this after the fight. Jose Delgado won this fight. That's pretty clear. Aiemann Zahabi versus Jose Aldo was not a robbery. It was a close fight, a good fight. Francis Marshall versus what's his name, Myron Santos. It was a good fight, but who cares? Who cares? You know. Moving on to the next fight, the feel-good moment of the year. This award is presented to a moment that was good for every MMA fan's heart. The nominees for this award are Charles Oliveira's electric submission win over Mateus Gamera at UFC Rio. Just days, almost, it felt like, after he got knocked out. He got a win over Gamera, and it was very good in his hometown. A lot of people were talking about Charles Oliveira, man, he's back. And a lot of people were happy. He brought his kids into the octagon, and it was a very good moment for all. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. What a fight this was. Not really, because Magomed Ankalaev got chinned in the first round. Great to see. Truly great to see Alex Pereira getting his belt back. But another man who got his belt back this year, Alexander Volkanovski, after so much adversity, after going through so much, he won it. He wins this award because Alexander Volkanovski, man, maybe this one just hits more close to home. I'm the biggest Alex Pereira fan ever. Alexander Volkanovski, after his UFC 294 loss to Islam Makhachev, after his UFC 298 loss to Ilia Topuria, if you saw this man, you would think he lost everything. If you saw this man, you would think he's divorced. He has nothing left in life because he was crying. He was in shambles, and it was really sad. He was saying he doesn't know what he does. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do. He doesn't know what his life is without fighting, and he was crying. It was all bad. But for him to come back and get a win over a new up-and-coming prospect, contender like Diego Lopez, it felt good. Unfortunately, Volk is going to get chinned against Diego Lopez in the rematch, but still, a really feel-good moment in the moment. Alexander Volkanovski wins the feel-good moment of the year award with his win over Diego Lopez at UFC 314. Moving on to the next award, the fight of the year. This award is presented to the most outstanding and entertaining fight of the year. Let's get into it. The nominees for this award are Joshua Van versus the one and only Brennan Raw Dog Royval, Nazim Sadikov versus Nicholas Himoda, and Khalil Darius Roundtree versus Yuri Prohaska. All three great fights. but the fight of the year nominee that is going to pull off this award. Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval. It had to be. In the moment, UFC 317, I thought this was the greatest fight I'd ever seen. And I still, sometimes, I think I wish I never rewatched it. Because in the moment, rewatching it is so much better than actually rewatching a fight. I really wish I never rewatched it, because I wish my initial reaction to this fight was the reaction that I always think back to. But unfortunately, that's ruined because I've rewatched it so many times. It's still a great fight. So much volume in this fight. And at any moment, you thought any of these guys were going down. And Joshua Van sealed the deal with his knockdown, making this fight electrifying in the final 5 seconds, almost finishing Brandon Royval, and it ultimately led to him become the UFC flyweight champion. So great moment for Joshua Van. And moving on to the next award, we do have, this award is presented to the best and most shocking knockout of the year. The nominees for this award are Quillan Southkill's knockout over Nasrat Hasparast at UFC 321, a beautiful head kick KO, flatlining him. Mauricio Ruffy's beautiful spinning back kick against King Green, sending him into the Shadow Realm. And Ilia Topuria's sad but shocking and exhilarating knockout over Charles Oliveira at UFC 317. All three individually hold their own moments. All three have the right to become the winner for this. I think Quillan Southkill, just because it was so unexpected. You know, he's coming in here knocking him all of these guys who he shouldn't be knocking out. It's crazy. Mauricio Ruffy's knockout over King Green, it's just the looks of it. And Ilia Topuria's crazy, shocking, saddening knockout over Charles Oliveira. All three have their reasons to win this award. Quillan Southkill, just because of the nature of it. This guy's coming into the UFC, knocking out all these guys who he should not be knocking out. It's just crazy. Mauricio Ruffy's knockout over King Green. I mean, look at it. One of the most satisfying visuals in the history of MMA. The beautiful spinning back kick, flatlining King Green. Just sensational to watch. And Ilia Topuria's knockout over Charles Oliveira. More of the moment in this essence, because Ilia Topuria went in there, knocked out one of the greatest lightweights of all time with ease in under a round, flatlining him completely, becoming a double champ. So, I mean, that just speaks for himself. Who I'm going to give it to? In my opinion, I value the art of the sport better. Mauricio Ruffy wins knockout of the year for his crazy knockout at UFC 313 over Bobby King Green. No one saw this coming. Everyone saw this coming except me, because if you go back and watch my prediction video, I predicted King Green to knock out Mauricio Ruffy. Maybe not knockout, but I said King Green was going to be crafty enough to get a decision over Mauricio Ruffy. That didn't happen, and now I look like a fool. So, yeah, man, it sucks, but your winner of this award, Mauricio Ruffy, knockout of the year winner. And moving on to the next award, the final award, the Outpost Fighter of the Year. This award is presented to the fighter who had the most impactful performances and success during 2025. Last year's winner was none other than Alex Pereira. The nominees for this year are Islam Makhachev, cementing himself as a double champ this year by absolutely dominating Jack Della Maddalena for 5 rounds at UFC 322. Joshua Van, before this year had came, he was unranked. What he did in this year is nothing short of sensational. Going from being unranked to champion, it's something we've never seen before. Merab Dvalishvili, although he picked up a loss at the end of the year, to go out there and even defend your belt 4 times is just extraordinary, and he deserves credit for this feat. The winner of the 2nd annual Outpost Award, Fighter of the Year, goes to Joshua Van. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a round of applause for Joshua Van! Man, I don't know if this is bias or what, but I have been telling people this man was going to fight for a title since the dawn of this YouTube channel, since the second I seen Joshua Van fight. So when I said there was 0 chance Joshua Van goes his entire career without fighting for a title, 4-0 in the year 2025, the only ranked fighter to go 4-0 in the year. That in itself is crazy, you know. 4-0 in the year, that's a good feat. But to do it starting off unranked and then becoming champion, the majority of MMA fan base did not know of Joshua Van to start the year. A lot, pretty much everyone in the MMA fan base, unless you were a hardcore, did not know Joshua Van. To say he is champion at this point of the year, it is nothing short of amazing, beautiful, and it makes me cry, man. A lot of people are not going to like this because of the way he won the belt. he won the belt at the end of the day. Pantoja should not have came down like that. Pantoja snapped his own arm in half, and that is Pantoja's fault, but Joshua Van threw him to the ground. I'm not saying Joshua Van went out there and dominated Pantoja. I'm getting off track here. Joshua Van won the belt. Maybe not fair and square, but he won the belt, and he did what he needed to do to beat Alessandro Pantoja, and he is our flyweight champion of the world. Joshua Van, ladies and gentlemen, what a year it was for this YouTube channel, what a year it was for MMA, and what a year it was for Joshua Van. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for today's video. I appreciate everything you guys have done for me in the year 2025. I'm going to continue making YouTube videos in 2026, and we're going to pop off in 2026. 2026 is our year, boys. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. MMA Outpost out.